Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we can start? Yeah? All right. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna. So in the Puranas, Srimad Bhagavad Puran, Karna Puran, Markandeya Puran, there is a description of Samudra Manthan, or the churning of the ocean. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it has been entitled The Churning of the Milk Ocean. Right? But the Sanskrit texts, the Puranas, they only say Samudra Manthan. They don't say Dukta Samudra Manthan. Or Khira Samudra Manthan. They don't say that. Shira. Samudra Manthan. So why do we call it as the churning of the ocean of milk? Just clarity. The Puranic perspective was presented in the English language very recently, maybe 200 years ago, at the most 300 years ago. So, thousands of years prior to that, the idea of Samudra Manthan was that the churning took place in the ocean of milk. Everyone was aware of it. There was no need for clarification. Since the English language has recently picked up on the Puranic concepts, so it takes some time, maybe a few generations. Wherever we mention the churning of the ocean, then automatically people will know that it is the milk ocean. Okay? Hare Krishna. In the recent texts, even in our books printed by Bhaktivriksha Book Trust, the river in Vrindavan, her name is spelled as Yamuna. So those who have never heard about that river and only read it from the books, they come to Vrindavan and they ask, where is the river Yamuna? So, this happened with me. Therefore, I can relate to it. Someone asked me. So I said that, yeah, you take this direction and you'll come to the river Yamuna. So a local person, he said, why did you send this person to the river Jamuna? Because in Vrindavan, she is referred to as Jamuna Mai. It's typical. She is called as Jamuna Mai. Now, if we, as a generation, stay away from Vrindavan, an entire generation doesn't visit Vrindavan. And after 2-3 generations, they read about Vrindavan. They're always going to look for river Yamuna. And then there's going to be a conflict. What is the conflict going to be? That the local people have corrupted the word Yamuna and made it Jamuna. You see, you understand? So we don't want that to happen. We don't want people to remember this event only as the ocean, the churning of the milk ocean. We want people to understand that Puranic texts have mentioned it as Samudra Manthan. Is that all right? And it's fair enough, isn't it? You know what is also very interesting? Most of us, especially if we have come to Krishna consciousness much later in life, we have a family, and we've never ever heard about. How many of you did hear about Samudra Manthan growing up? Sorry, how many of you did not hear about Samudra Manthan growing up and you heard it for the first time when you came to some ISKCON program? Is there anyone like that? Samudra Manthan? I'm not asking the children. I'm asking the adults. So everyone heard about the Samudra Manthan, right? Everyone is aware of Ramayana, isn't it? Everyone knows Lord Ram. So where did Lord Ram appear? Everyone is sure? Now, when you go to Ayodhya, they will not call it Ayodhya, they will call it Ajodhya. And many of the texts from previous centuries may actually in English mention it as Ajodhya. And what is more interesting is many of you may not be aware that Ayodhya is also referred as Awadh. How many of you were aware that it is also known as Awadh? How many were not aware of it? Yes. Because we've not been exposed to the literatures of that part. It is very famous amongst the literatures that were given by the poets of those times from that part of the country. One of the famous one being Goswami Tulsidas. He always calls it Avadhapuri. Did you see Ramayana serial, the Hindi version? So the king of Ayodhya is called as Ayodhya Naresh or Awadh Naresh? Awadh Naresh. You should pay attention. And it never strikes us. Why I'm mentioning this is that the text, the original texts, or some of the colloquial texts, they have these names, and then we become confused. All right? And many of you may not be aware of the fact that it is also referred to as Saket Dham. Saket Puri. Ayodhya is also called as Raghunath Puri. All right? So coming back to Samudra Manthan. A lot of things happened during Samudra Manthan, during the churning of the ocean of milk. Most prominently, the poison came out, that is what we know. The Amrit came out, the nectar. And if we paid attention, then Lakshmi Devi also came. If you didn't pay attention, isn't it? However, Airavat also appeared, Apsaras also appeared, Pariyata appeared, Dhanavantri appeared, Ucheshravas appeared. And the Bhagavatam does not mention about Kamadev, but other Puranas mention. That is why he is considered to be brother of Lakshmi Devi too, because he appeared from the ocean. Okay. So if Lakshmi Devi is very attractive, he also has to be very attractive. Kamadev. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we do not find preference for another personality. However, we find that reference in other Puranas, like Padma Purana. The elder sister of Lakshmi Devi also appeared. Did you know Lakshmi Devi had an elder sister? She is very popular in South India. Very popular. In fact, in South India, she has been worshipped also. And for those of you who still have some generations who are, older generations who are still alive, you'll find them worshipping her on Saturdays. Specifically under the banyan tree. And she is worshipped along with Lord Vishnu. Sometimes it's the people tree. Who is this? As mentioned, she is Jyeshtha. Jyeshtha actually. But because she is female, so according to Sanskrit grammar, her name is Jyeshtha. You know what does Jyeshtha mean? The elder one. How many of you are from North India? Okay. So now you know where the word Jeth comes from. But you cannot call his wife Jetha, no? It's a Jethani. It's a Jyeshtha, the elder one, the older sibling. She appeared, obviously, since she is the elder sibling, the older sister, she appeared before Lakshmi. Correct? So she appeared after people had dealt with, they had come to terms with the halal, with the poison. So her form was very fearsome. She had a very haggard look. You know what is haggard look? Like a very rough appearance. She least cared about what people thought of her appearance. In other words, she didn't try to present herself in any different way. She was completely ungraceful. This is a form of Jyeshtha being described. She had crumpled hair. She did not get her eyebrows done. She had she had heavy facial hair growth, so thick eyebrows, crumpled, unruly hair. She did not want to keep it. She did not use a comb, so it was all over her face. She liked ornaments. However, the only ornaments that she wore were ornaments made of iron with rust on it. She had this dark neckband with rust falling off, armlets, anklets, earrings, large eyes. Instead of the cornea being white, it was red. Not fiery red, but red. She was wearing clothes that seem to be unkempt and old. She was also the daughter of Samudra Kanya, just as Lakshmi is Samudra Kanya. So people noticed her and they said, all right, no one claimed her. No one said that, please come over to our side. So she was all by herself. Then they went on with the churning and Lakshmi Devi appeared as Samudra Kanya again. Samudra Kanya means the daughter of the ocean. Right? So Lakshmi ji appeared. Now everyone said, please, madam, can we have your phone number? Would you like to go out on a date? So she was very sober. She did not let people's attention affect her. And Srimad Bhagavatam explains that she had a garland in her hands. And there is an entire description of this garland. If we had been there, we would have asked her, where did you get it from? Price. Beautiful garland. What is it for? She had come with a proposal to marry someone.
Yeah, now it's
All right? She wanted to get married. So finally, the one person who did notice her but did not go overboard is a person she chose. That was the Supreme Lord. Now, the Supreme Lord was present in various forms. He was present as Kurma there. He was present as the Lord with 8 hands on the top of the mountain. But here, the Supreme Lord was present as one of the members of the Devadas. He's called as Mukunda there, Lord Mukunda. So she chose Lord Mukunda as her husband and consort. She put the garland around his neck. After that, that is not all. There has to be rituals done. However, according to the Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam just explains that. The Padma Puran and certain other Purans, they explain that she turned to her father and she said, well, I've chosen the engagement is done. However, the wedding can only be performed after my elder sister gets married. So who's the elder sister? Jeshta. So now Samudradev is okay. He understands this is the tradition. So Samudradev, he asked the gathering there, would any of you want to be a suitor for my elder daughter? So they asked him, what is the name of your daughter? This is Jeshta. What are her qualities? Please tell us about her. So Samudradev said that she is my daughter, she is the elder sister of my younger daughter, Lakshmi. And then they look at the eldest one, and then they look at the younger one. And they said, if this is Lakshmi, she is so graceful, she is well groomed. Her elder sister is just the opposite. I think her name should be Alakshmi, the opposite of Lakshmi. We think her name should be Alakshmi. Now, social media picked up that word. So she became famous as Alakshmi. All right. So now there are two sisters, Lakshmi and Alakshmi. So the story is quite intricate. We are just going to take some bits and parts. So an interesting part about Lakshmi and Alakshmi is that both are the daughters of Samudradev. Who's Samudradev? He is the father-in-law of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, isn't he? So therefore he has a special position, royal position. So his daughters are also princesses. Now since Samudradev is a Devata, so his daughters are also Devis, celestial personalities. So Alakshmi is also a celestial personality now. Which basically means that humans worship celestial beings. So we as humans worship. So gentleman was worshipping the divine energy and he invoked the presence of the divine energy. Please enter my house. And the gentleman saw Lakshmi come, followed by Alakshmi. Both the sisters came. So now the gentleman realized that if the first sister comes into my house, then there's good fortune coming in. If the elder sister comes into my house, bad fortune could come in. So the gentleman welcomes both the sisters and he says, oh, both of you are so beautiful. Very beautiful personalities. This personality known as Lakshmi, she looks beautiful when she enters the house. And the other personality, Alakshmi, she looks beautiful when she leaves the house. See, that is such a decent way of keeping things peaceful. So both of the sisters felt that, oh, we want to be in the situation where we are both beautiful. So Lakshmi ji entered the house and she is beautiful entering the house. And Alakshmi said, I'm leaving. She went away from the house. And that is how she looks beautiful. So you see, our scriptures in the form of stories sometimes, or in the form of such narrations, they also instill certain traits within our consciousness. And let good fortune come into your lives. And let bad fortune leave. Anything that is not helpful, let it go. Because that is how that object is beautiful. Bad fortune's beauty is when it leaves you. Good fortune's beauty is when it enters into your life. So a little metaphorical, isn't it? When we hear it in the form of stories, see, everyone is awake right now. It is as if all the rishis and munis are sitting here completely engrossed in hearing. Otherwise, this Sat Sabha, Sant Sabha could also be Shok Sabha. You must have been part of many Shok Sabhas, isn't it? You know what's a Shok Sabha? A Shok Sabha is a gathering where you're absolutely bored. You're like, why was I even born? But you cannot express that. It's not healthy to have that kind of feeling. However, you express that by going off to sleep. Like, does he know? does. What is Satsabha? When you're awake. So everyone is into the story. So Lakshmi and Alakshmi. Correct? As I said, this is a very intricate story. So we're going to take only bits and pieces. And why? Because I'm the person who's speaking, so it's my choice. Do you have any objections? This is a free country, isn't it? Therefore, I want to just speak in bits and pieces. Right? Okay. So, Alakshmi. Let us come back to Alakshmi. We call her Alakshmi. You know why? Because we are all addicted to social media. We are not addicted. We're just kind of on the borderline. We can tip over anytime. So since social media proclaims her as Alakshmi, we call her Alakshmi. Most of you are going to remember her as Alakshmi only. Because Jeshtha, elder one, boring. Alakshmi, bad fortune, interesting. So Alakshmi. Puranas tell us this story, all right? So all the Rishis, Munis, they are like everyone is kind of super specialized in their own fields. If they are interested in stories like this, obviously these stories must have some substance. I'm calling them stories. If I was speaking in a regional language from India, I would have called it Katha. You know what is the difference between stories and Katha? Stories are generally, unless you tell them that this is a real story, generally are taken to be fiction, isn't it? Katha. You never say Satya Katha. Katha is always, I never said true. It is always accepted not to be fiction. That is the difference. I'm not saying Kathas are always true stories. I'm not saying that. But the idea of Katha is that it should not be considered to be just fiction. Whereas the idea of stories is that the first thought that comes is that, is it a real story? Because you feel that it is fiction. Just how words carry meaning. All right? So the Katha of Alakshmi. So now Vishnu has been garlanded by Lakshmi ji. Everyone accepts it. They're good sports. The Suras and the Asuras, in the English language, you call them? Yeah, I mean, really. So the Suras and Asuras, the Devatas and the Asuras, that is what I'll call them. Because on one side were the descendants of Aditi and the other side were the descendants of Diti. That is how this was. The conflict was between the descendants of Diti and Aditi, cousins, and their friends and followers and supporters. So the Suras and the Devas, the Devas and the Asuras, they were good sports. When Lakshmi ji chose the Supreme Lord as her husband, they're like, all right, we would have wanted her to be our wife. But now she is chosen in front of all of us. It's her choice and it should be respected. So can you understand the fabric of that society, of the facility that everyone had for freedom of action and the acceptance of that is already ingrained in such narrations. So they all accepted it. Now they wanted the ceremony to happen. So Lakshmi ji has come up with this condition. First, my sister has to be, because she is the elder one, and tradition says that the younger one has to wait till the elder one gets married. Now she took that stand. If everyone in all our narrations would have taken that stand, then what would have happened to Bhishma Dev? Bhishma Dev said that I will not get married. If his younger brothers would have said, no, tradition says that. So there is also the custom that if you have been asked or requested by your elders, then that takes precedence. So Bhishma asked his younger brothers, please get married. All right. So who would marry her? Everyone's like, oh my God. They are just trying to imagine what their life would be for the next decades or centuries if these two people get into a marriage alliance. There's absolutely, they couldn't see anything compatible. The Asuras also could not see anything compatible. So then Lakshmi ji, she, with concern in her eyes, she looked at her fiance. Who's her fiance? The Supreme Lord. She looked at him. Right? Now we call him fiance. What would be the term in the scriptures? Nath. What does Nath mean? The Lord. Nath basically means someone that I feel one with. You know how comfortable you are when you are by yourself? Is there anyone else you trust more than yourself? Sometimes you say, I trust my so and so more than myself. Basically, that's a euphemism, I guess, or maybe an exaggeration. Because the only person that you can trust the most is yourself. And because you trust yourself, therefore you are able to put your trust in someone else. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Nath, you address someone as Nath because you trust them as much as you trust yourself, because you see that you are one. And not entity, but you don't see yourself separate from that person. Therefore, a subject does not see oneself separate from the king. Therefore, the subjects address the king as Nath. So, hey Nath, my dear Lord, there is this dilemma. So the Supreme Lord, he sent a message on private chat to all the people assembled there. He can do that. He has those kind of powers. What is the message? He rephrased the proposal. Any one of you interested in being co-brother-in-law? Would you want to be known as the husband of the sister who is Lord Vishnu's wife? Would you want to do that? People were still wondering. But there was one sage. Some Puranas call sage Uddalaka. The Mahabharata also calls him sage Uddalaka. There are some Puranas that call him Dussaha. You know what does Dussaha mean? Dussaha means having courage, that is actually not helpful for you. Therefore, when you express that kind of courage, the Sanskrit word is dussahas. So one sage of the name Dussaha, he said, yes. I'm not sure if we can have a very compatible relationship, but yes, I can accept this proposal of marriage because after all, I'm a sage and I'm not supposed to be discriminated. And I need to be married because of certain reasons. And I have a wife. So he got married. And after that, the marriage of the Supreme Lord and Mother Lakshmi was performed. So Dussa and Lakshmi go to the ashram of sage Dussa. Life is absolutely miserable every single day because all she was interested in is how to waste her time. She was least concerned about her well-being. She was absolutely not concerned about the relationship. Should stay filthy, should love being filthy, should get extremely anxious whenever any rituals will be performed, should have panic attacks. If there were saintly people visiting the ashram, she would run away from the house. And if she could not run away, she would start crying and howling. She felt extremely miserable in that place. She wanted her husband to move. So the husband asked her, where do you want us to move? Let us go to some really downtrodden place. Dark, wet, damp, obnoxious. And when she was mentioning these words, she was like feeling all excited. So Alakshmi, bad fortune is about one's mental state. And one feels complete inertia. One wants to be totally filthy. One doesn't want to take a bath. One doesn't want to, one is least concerned about one's eating habits or one's cleanliness. It is Alakshmi. And if one does a dussahas, if anyone feels that they can be compatible with this state of existence, well, sometimes, I take up this challenge. I would want to live like that. And then you realize how difficult it is. The sage realized that this is not possible. So he said, my dear lady, see, this is not possible. So the only proposal that I can offer to you is, let us have legal separation. Now, you have a bank account. I'll send some money every month into that account. You live the way you feel comfortable because this is what we have been taught. This is what we have been taught in Sanatana Dharma. Everyone has a right to live the way they find comfortable. We can try to help them by telling them, giving them options. However, we cannot claim that by helping them, we know the best way for everyone to live. So you see, the more we understand Puranas, the more we understand what is a free society. Unfortunately, if we only stick to a few books that have been propagated as the cream, the ones that are going to take you to nirvana, then we are faced with the option of becoming close-minded. If the sages felt that all these narrations are healthy enough to be passed down, we should feel confident that these narrations are helpful. So Lakshmi was sent away. So a few days later, some other Rishi Munis came to the ashram of Dussala and they asked him, what happened? We heard about relationship not going well and now you're living separately. What happened? And he said, at that point of time, I didn't realize what I was doing. I thought that maybe I was helping others by sacrificing myself. Unfortunately, I did not realize whether I had that. Later on, I realized that I did not have the capacity to live up to such standards. So it's good to have high ideals in life. At the same time, it is important that we develop our capabilities to be able to reach those high ideals. That is why they call us high ideals in life. Otherwise, they could have simply been called as good ideals in life. But when you say high, that means now we have to work to bring ourselves to that level, which is high. And then he realized that this endeavor of trying to prove something, either out of some misidentification, misunderstanding, or miscalculation, may or may not be healthy. He said, I did not have any ulterior motive. It is not that I was inspired because Lord Vishnu sent us that private chat. No. I felt that since no one else is ready to accept this lady as a sage, all of us are sages. I'm not saying that others are not being sages. I felt that as a sage, I should at least make an attempt. And I realized that it was not just an uphill task for me. I realized that I am actually just a sage. I'm not great. That was his realization. I thought that I was trying to help, but I didn't realize that within that thought process was a seed of me feeling that I was a great person. It was so very subtle. And when did I realize it? After years of experience. Prabhupada would always say that the three kinds of learners. The first one is one who learns by understanding. He would say hearing, which is understanding. They need not go through experience. The second one hears or understands, however, would really have the understanding if they go through that experience. So the sage, he said, this is what I learned from my experience. It's not that I was mistaken or I did not know what my capacity was. I felt that I could increase my capabilities, which is not wrong. This is what we should try and do. We should try and have faith in ourselves that we can definitely do better than what we are right now. However, at one point of time, we have to realize that trying to be better doesn't mean that I have to be the greatest. There's a difference between the two. One is where you're seeing room for improvement and you're trying to be a better version of oneself. But there's a thin line between this, trying to be a better version of yourself, and trying to be a better version in other people's eyes. And how do we understand which is which? Trying to be a better version of yourself generally would let you have a good sleep at night. Because there's no dichotomy. You don't have to, you're the only person who judges how your version is. But trying to be a better version in other people's eyes, you're going to have sleepless nights. Because you're always wondering, have I done enough for other people to respect me? So you see, the difference is so easy to understand. So now she is living by herself. And according to his promise, he's still supporting her. But then she feels lonely. She calls up her sister, who's Lakshmi, and says, hey, this is my situation. So Lakshmi again turns to Nath. My dear Lord, my sister's in some problem. So Lord Vishnu talks to her. He says, what is your problem? She explains the problem that she is by herself and I don't have a place to stay. I'm basically on the streets. This is all right. I give you certain places to live. Wherever people are unclean, that is a place where you can find residence. Wherever people are quarrelsome, that is where you can find, that is a place where you can live. Wherever people, without any reason, go against tradition, you can live there. Wherever there is jealousy and hate, you can live there. So he gave a few places for her to live. Now, some people wonder, why would Lord Vishnu give her these places to live? Because Lord Vishnu knew that we create these places for Lakshmi to live. He asked her first, you can come and live with us in Vaikuntha. She's like, I'll be very miserable there. I know my sister. The very thought of her makes me so jealous of her. Live with her? Impossible. So she couldn't do that. Then Lord Vishnu gave her these places to live. There's a few other things. However, as I said, I'll only pick and choose what I want to narrate. So unhealthy eating habits, unhealthy living habits, unhealthy emotions. These are all residences for Lakshmi. In ISKCON, we worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a biography of the Supreme Lord, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, he mentions one incident. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, a close associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, had a son-in-law. This son-in-law hated the fact that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got more respect than him in his father-in-law's house. And he felt jealousy towards Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like he look at himself in the mirror like, I'm more handsome than him. Still, he gets all the attention in my father-in-law's house. Many of you who have come from that kind of culture, you know, kind of pampering son-in-laws get in father-in-law's house. The other way around may not be seen as much. And I say that times have changed now, but if you have come from that generation, you can relate to this fact. So this is like 550 years ago. So one day he found a way to speak very, very harsh words to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Something like, "You're such a good for nothing." I'm just paraphrasing it. "Come here to the house of my father-in-law and do nothing. Just you're like a beggar at the house of my father-in-law." That was the intent that he had. When his father-in-law heard that, he started fasting. His wife started fasting. His mother-in-law was fasting because they felt that what is the use of a life if our son-in-law has insulted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? They couldn't say anything to the son-in-law directly. This is what they did. By arrangement of providence, the son-in-law got cholera, severe infection of cholera. So cholera is, for those of you who do not know what is cholera, when you are affected by cholera, you are as miserable as when people are infected by the Delta variant of COVID-19. Very terrible situation. So he's writhing in pain. He was not able to eat anything. His stomach would just stop everything, constant retching. He was beyond vomiting. It was retching now. Dry vomit. His intestines were like, there was a battle going on there. Diarrhea. Dysentery. Fever. Someone came up to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, "Oh, the son-in-law of Sabha Bhattacharya is suffering." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to his place. His son is suffering. He touched him, put his hand on his heart. He said, "The heart of a human being is not a fit place for the emotion of jealousy. Why are you harboring this emotion within your heart? Let it go." And this person was so moved that I recently kind of insulted him. My insult was like death personified. And he's still here. He was so moved that immediately he gave up all animosity towards Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he started recovering. However, these emotions we know are not very helpful. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said is very, very, very important. The heart of a human is not a fit place for jealousy to stay. Therefore, we should understand the Puranic conceptions, and we should know that these two sisters are good in different places. Lakshmi is beautiful when she enters our heart. Our Lakshmi is beautiful when she leaves our heart. And in the context of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities that we described, good fortune is when our heart is simple, straightforward. Therefore, the heart is beautiful when we allow good fortune to enter. And the heart becomes miserable Or let us say the heart is beautiful when we allow good fortune to enter, and bad fortune to leave. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Any comments? Yes.
You mentioned having few books will make narrow mind.
Did I say that?
I mean, kind of. But having more books will make us broad.
I didn't know. If we accept that amongst these narrations, only few are the most important for nirvana, and think that others are useless. I did not use that phrase that others are useless. Now I want to include that. When I say nirvana, I mean liberation. I feel that only a few books amongst all these narrations are important for liberation and others are useless. Then it can bring us to a situation where we have the option of being close.
Finally, the point of we have many books reading Purana, and every Purana projects one as theme. So that made quarrel between our one family and India's different sampradayas. And we are, I mean, there is no unity. We are always, because of that, we suffer a lot. And even today, till today, it's happening. Like my God is great. My God is great. It's happening. What is your take on it?
I still have to experience a situation like that in my life. I mean, yes, I find that on social media.
I actually faced several times.
No, I know that people have opinions. However, when we have to speak about literatures, then first of all, we have to qualify ourselves by having knowledge of those literatures. Anyone who does not have, if I want to be a part of a science symposium, then I have to at least have some qualification to be there. So people who have those qualifications, they don't fight. They have debates. It's called as Vaad. Others who may have these differences, maybe there is debates, maybe there is fights. However, what is important to consider is, should that be relevant? Because if they do not have the qualifications to have those interactions, then it is not relevant. Is that all right? So your question is that you've seen in your life, or yeah, I mean there are road rages everywhere. So does that mean that every time I move out of my house, there's going to be a road rage incident? One incident happened maybe in Columbus, Ohio. Another incident happened maybe in New York. Another incident happened maybe in San Antonio, somewhere south, Texas. But when you see that on social media, you feel that it is happening right here, next door. I'm not everywhere, no. Only Lord Vishnu is everywhere. I'm not everywhere. So today, did you have a quarrel? Today, did you have a quarrel with anyone? Any debates? Did somebody have? So there is one day you did not have. That is what I'm saying. Social media makes us feel that right now we are in a very dangerous situation. So what we call social media, according to the Sanskrit scriptures, it is called as prajalpa. Prajalpa has two meanings. Prajalpa is where you talk a lot. That's a just benign meaning. And another understanding of Prajalpa is Grama Varta, where people simply are quarrelsome. Okay. So yes, maybe last week I had a talk with someone and there was some debate. That's possible. But then last week and this week, I had 7 days where there was no debate. So does that make that day very important and these 7 days less important? No. Life has given me this so many experiences. So I choose which experience I want to be the guiding light in my life. So I'm not saying that there is none. However, I said that in my life, I personally have to experience that. I've only seen that on social media because social media just invades your life like anything. For a person to invade my life, at least a person has to come up to me. But social media, I just kind of just enter a group and boom, 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 boom. All right.
Life for individual means as a group, we have so many people are there. I'm thinking like I'm so happy my world, nobody is spoiling me, nobody is but
No, please understand, I did not say that I closed my doors. I said that 7 days from the previous, when I gave that example, I said that last week I had an interaction with someone, and that interaction was what I can say, quarrelsome. But I had 7 days where I decent interactions. I did not just shut my door and say, I don't want to quarrel with anyone, I don't want to see anyone. Maybe last year I had an incident of road rage happen to me here in Prosper. But after that, I haven't had that. So isn't that relevant enough in my life? No, what I'm speaking is even as a community, where is the friction? I'm not saying it is not there. What I'm saying is in a year, in a month, how many days of no friction, good interactions, and how many days of friction? So let's say there are equal days of friction and no friction. So the days where there have been no friction, are they relevant in my life or they are not?
Maybe mind solution is there. At the right time, it might come out from everyone and become a big one. Even within our community.
So are you saying that maybe hunger is there, but only when you feel hungry, that is when you eat? Is that how you're putting the logic? Hunger is there, but only when you're hungry, you eat.
Hunger is there.
No, hunger is only when you're hungry. So when we say that maybe there is friction in the mind, and only when there are circumstances favorable for it to come out, burst out, understand it, that is acceptable. However, that is just a supposition. It's just we are like assuming that that is how it will be. So let us also assume and then do research on it. Let us have that too. That is what I'm trying to say. When we say that it is all over, then we are kind of not giving the importance due to the days that we have had very good life. That is all I'm saying. So let us give. Hence, how did I put my statement? I said when these narrations are there, it helps us understand what is a free society according to these thinkers that is there, what kind of freedom of thought and action is being presented. However, if we consider that only a few of these narrations are only the important ones to bring me to nirvana or liberation, then it brings us to a situation where there is a possibility, that there is an option that one can become close-minded. So, what are the other options? Other options is that one can be very broad-minded also. Broad-hearted. That option is also there. However, when we go through the various narrations, the option of being close-minded is almost negligible. Because there's so many perspectives being given. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, out of 18 chapters, if we say that one chapter is most important, then maybe we should write a letter to Krishna and tell him that next time when you speak the Bhagavad Gita, just do the important chapter. You can say one chapter is important for me, one chapter is important for my community, but when we say only one chapter is the most important, what basically that means is that the others are not helpful enough. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So when we say only one chapter is important, what we are saying is that only this chapter can give us liberation. Others.
I'm saying there are people who are saying. I mean, like if you take any Purana.
There are people also who don't say that. Right now, do you find me saying that? Exactly. So there are people who are not saying that. So what I'm just suggesting is that there are people who say that and the people who say this. We come forth with that proposal. So when people say this, I can, there is no conflict in my mind. But when people say that, this is the conflict that I have.
Actually, I brought this discussion why we call to how can make
By people who have this become a bigger influence. Right? So that is how it is. And let's say there's a lot of dirty water, flowing over your pavement in front of your house. What is one way to keep your pavement clean? Stop the flow of the dirty water. What is another way if you cannot stop it? You have sufficient amount of clean water that flows across these tracks. So what is your capacity according to that to perform? Is that correct? Isn't it? All right. So let us have that kind of environment where more and more knowledge is available to people. So Srila Prabhupada therefore he said every day we should have class, morning and evening, because he wanted people to have more and more facility to be exposed to knowledge. And it was not something very out of the ordinary that he did. This is what has been practiced in all schools and colleges all over the world. They wanted to attend every single day so that you are exposed to that field of knowledge every single day. The more you understand that field of knowledge, the more your perspective broadens. You see more options. But there are certain schools that tell you to attend every day, but all they train you to be is hardcore. There are certain schools like that too. Isn't it?
question I asked not for myself.
I know.
Just for you.
I know.
Happening.
I know it's
Also
happening.
based on-
All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Yes.
This is in general, but how your average
An average day for me looks like the same as it looks for you. Sunrise to sunset and then sunrise, sunset to sunrise. No, I don't want to be, sound very funny here, but that is what an average day looks like. With sunrise, the day begins. With sunset, the day ends. With sunset, the night begins. And with sunrise, the night ends. That is all the time that I have. Just the same as you.
The consistency following the Buddha will always.
The consistency, are you asking me that I have that consistency in the food habits, or are you saying that people who have consistency in the food habits have a different lifestyle?
You definitely have that consistency.
Do you have a camera over there? So what are you asking?
I mean, like the kind of temperament you're holding up to have that kind of consistency.
Oh, that is there in the Bhagavad Gita according to the eating. Krishna has very clearly described what kind of food is helpful for what kind of state of existence. He does that. I think some of the later chapters, I don't remember the chapter number right now. Maybe 16, 17 or 18, most probably 17, I guess. All right. So consistency is about what is good or what is healthy. So accepting that which is healthy and being very happy without that which is unhealthy. It's not. Actually, it is not. In the sense that each one of us is consistent about what we feel is very important in our life. And with most consistency, we try to pursue that. Is it true? No. What I'm saying is, haven't we experienced that if we decide that this is very important for me right now, and it is going to take some time for me to achieve what I feel I should be achieving. So then don't we have consistency in actions till we achieve that? Don't we have a consistent approach towards that? So every one of us has experienced consistency in our own lives. So all we have to figure out is what is important for me in life right now. It doesn't have to be that what I feel is important should be important for you too. It doesn't have to be that. If that were the case, then we would have all the sages in our scriptures the same prototypes. They're all very different. Yeah. So we have to figure that knowledge helps us to have vision. When we have vision, then we figure out what is important for us. Individually, what is important for us. Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for that class. In the past time that you narrated regarding Lakshmi and Alakshmi, wherein the person says very intelligently that Lakshmi looks beautiful when she comes in, and that's how he repels Alakshmi, and Alakshmi goes out. Thinking a little bit practical in our life, we also say yes and no to so many things in our life. Thinking from our perspective that this is good for me, I say yes. Something that's not good for me, thinking that's Alakshmi, I say no. But my intelligence is very limited, and I could be making a wrong choice. So, in a more practical way, can you elaborate a little bit more how to take the right decision and how to distinguish between the two?
Okay. So the question is that we understand that certain things we should be able to say no to certain things and yes to certain things. Because saying yes is helpful, saying no is also helpful. Right? Saying no and staying away from it, correct? However, because of limited intelligence, thank you, Vita. Because of limited intelligence, it is a little difficult to have clarity. So could I, in simple words, explain how to have clarity? Is that,
Yes. What are the few tools that we can use?
what are the few tools to use
Yes.
to have clarity?
To bring that distinction. For example, if I'm changing a job for better salary, am I heading in the right direction? I mean, just taking an example, but is it going to help me or is it going to make my life more worse? So how do we make the right choice? Because we can't foresee. So what are some of the tools we can use at that point in time to distinguish between the two situations and make the right decision for us?
Well, the answer to your question is in a question itself. Because we were so involved with what we are seeking, we overlooked that particular aspect of the question. You said due to limited intelligence. So the answer is right there. We should try to fortify our intelligence. We have to put our time and energy in fortifying our intelligence, because where does the problem arise from? Lack of clarity is due to limited intelligence. And how does one fortify one's intelligence? Knowledge. So the more a person reads and has discussions and gets clarity, the more a person hears, has clarity, or has discussions to have clarity. If we invest in knowledge, generally it is always helpful. But if we simply invest in techniques rather than knowledge, then it is only helpful till the time the person that taught you the technique had clarity.
Because we do get blinded, right? Thinking that I am right, and we only look for things
Knowledge
which makes us feel that this is right. We are getting attracted, but how to get,
The funny thing about knowledge, or let us say the wonderful thing about knowledge, is that it always helps us see where we have room for improvement. The more you read, like, changing a job, the more you read about that position, you realize what you need to do to have that position, more than the salary. Salary is what motivates you to really want to do it. But the more you have clarity of what the position demands of you, the more you feel confident that, yeah, you'll be able to do it.
Focus on the right aspect of it and not get dissuaded by other parameters.
If you have ever been a manager or a team lead, isn't that what you advise other members of the team? Isn't that what you advise your children? Now, sometimes you get caught up in some, let's say, math problem. Like, understand what the formula is. Why this is working this way? Why do we use this step here? Isn't that what you do? Why do you do that? Because you know that you will not always be around. You want them to have that clarity. So whenever you are at a roadblock in your life, you do this role play. You yourself become a parent to the person that is you as a child. You yourself become a team member and a team lead. It's very helpful tool. This tool has been given a mystical name. Now, what is a mystical name? A mystical word. Introspection. See how mystical it sounds now? And when you speak in simple words, you're like, oh, that is what introspection means. Okay. Okay. Anything else? we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhaktivriksha ki jai.
Thank you.